Hello, everyone. We've got a packed agenda today, so I'm going to try and keep us on time. No questions after each talk, and hopefully we have 5 minutes at the end, and then we can do questions for everyone. I am going to introduce Elizabeth Gordon from ASU, who's going to start us off.
If you haven't seen me talk yet, you've been skipping way too many sessions. Where's the clicker? I'm sorry. Let's get going here, because we have 10 minutes, so no time for more jokes. I'm going to present to you what we call resource hubs, otherwise known as non-linear learning using Open edX. We actually submitted this the first time with that, and we're like, nobody knows what that is. Let's talk about that. That's me, Elizabeth Gordon, Assistant Director, International Instructional Design, Ed+, ASU, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Those are some of our programs, 200 courses, 1 million enrollments. Again, if you've missed that this week, you've been skipping too much. So, have you ever faced this situation? Too much information to share with your community of learners. You don't have a developer on staff to build you an FAQ page, or you don't have time to code yourself an FAQ page. Or you want to keep information behind your login page into a specific subset of your population rather than out on a public-facing page. The answer? Resource hubs. So we have coded these. We've got about 5 of them. I've probably lost count because they keep making more because we did this solution and wow, we think they're the coolest thing since sliced bread. But the idea is this one is for the Baobab platform. It's our young African platform, and we had partners. We actually have one of our universities is an agricultural-focused university, and a lot of agricultural and food-focused degree programs and students. And so we had all these resources like, oh, there's this program, and then there's this information, and here you learn more about sustainability. And like, where do you put that? Like, it's a weird collection of stuff that's sort of related. It's not a course by itself. It's not something to learn. So where do you put it? So we designed these things. For this one, there's 500 online resources in this one location. But the idea here is build an interactive table of contents using Jump to IDs. So we create a page for each of those resources or collection of resources, create a subsection, and so there's like a series of them together. And then create a central location at the front of the course that has the Jump to IDs. So if they come in and they're like, now that I told you about the agricultural one, then this example is not the agricultural one, so that makes this not make sense. So this one is the one for our community of practice for our online teachers. And so the idea was we've got a page that is like a calendar of events. We have another page where it's like, here, do you need information on how to use Blackboard? I know we're in Open edX, but we do have professors who use Blackboard. So here's a page of information. So you don't want to have to click through all of those other pages to get through the Blackboard page. So we create the link right there on the home page, and then every page has a go back to the home page kind of an idea. We coded this one in a table. The last talk I was in, somebody was talking about centering items in a div, and I'm like, I feel you so deeply. But we can do it any other way. General plan of attack, create a spreadsheet where you just organize your information, categorize it, group like items together, figure out kind of what you're going to do with all of your resources to begin with. This is one of those. Decide on which order, who gets to go first. And then figure out kind of consistent navigation points. So you'll want that whole go back to the home page or go to the top of this section. Decide what those navigation points are. It's kind of similar to designing a web page, that same kind of figure it all out. And then you create the jump to links for each page. This is the part that's probably the hardest of the process because they're a little finicky. I don't know if you've ever used the jump to ID links, but sometimes they can be a little finicky and gremlin-filled. I don't know if any of you get that reference or if you're all too young for that, but like they just sometimes don't work. It's supposed to work and it doesn't work. Once you get that part conquered though, seriously, you're golden and it's going to be great. So there's another example of just what that page looks like. So we had one of our student worker coders code us a cute little go to homepage button, which we thought was amazing because none of us are developers. So we're like, oh, look, it's so cool. But you can literally just go, click here to go back to the homepage, and it's just a standard link either way. We've got lots of icons because we believe in that and ask for feedback. But the idea is you have this on every single page so that your users know, here's the resources. I can go back home. So they've got that consistent navigation. Then you want to figure out how are you going to do something that's visually appealing for that table of contents. One project had a really great graphic designer. So we got this really, really pretty thing. And we used... OpenEdX calls it Image Explorer. That interface really bites if there's a developer in the room and you want to fix something, make that more user-friendly because it's the Image Explorer and OpenEdX is not great. But we use H5P because it's much easier to use. So just the idea, you have the little plus signs you click. So you just click a little plus sign, a new menu pops up and it shows you the links. You jump to that section and then it's there. It doesn't have to be pretty like this. Like I showed you that other one, it's just a table, pretty simple, straightforward. You add the links there. Unless you like to live dangerously, QA this thing a lot. Make sure all of the links go where you think they were going to go and that it works kind of the way you wanted it to work. So again, when you click on the plus sign, you can see that's what pops up. Click here to view the resources. A little explanation, little verbiage, just in case your category name didn't make sense to your users the way you thought it was going to. This is another view. Oh, sorry, I showed you this one already. This one, so we have ourselves, and we partner with USIU Africa to basically create a community of practice for instructors. So that's what this one was for. And they had pages on their site. We had a Google site of information. We had ASU resources. So we had like all of this stuff, and we're like, this is actually where we dreamed up this solution of putting all of the information all in one spot. So that's this one. Baobab has another one for their alumni resources. Again, a lot of information to give to the community, no place to put it. We couldn't get our developers to stop redesigning the platform for some reason to build us an FAQ page. So we said, fine, we'll just throw it in here. It's in a nice course. This is one we do a lot of. There's a lot of entrepreneurship stuff on the platform. Baobab is huge on small business development on continent. So we again had lots and lots of resources, lots of information. It's not a course. So that was the other resource hub we created. This is the agricultural one. Again, Google Sites, 2 separate LMSs. That is not the right description. I hate it when you find a mistake on your slide. We're just going to keep going. That is not from 2 different sites. This was with the Earth University in Costa Rica. It was one of our partner universities. They have resources and then like random resources from the internet we found. So I think that might be all of mine. And that's me under time. Look at me giving time back.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Next up is Frenette Vanderwalt from Construct Education.
All right. As a child, I was. Is this mandatory to use? All right. Can I not use it? Oh, okay. Right. For the recording. Right. As a child, I was obsessed with the Harry Potter films. I watched all of the films. I read all the books, and I even had the haircut and the glasses to show for it. Believe it or not. And in the Harry Potter universe, there was a specific item that I found fascinating as a child, and that was the riddle, Tom Riddle's journal. Now, if you're not familiar with Tom Riddle's journal, first of all, where have you been in the last century? Now, Tom Riddle's journal is an artifact in the Harry Potter universe that Harry discovers and decides to write. And now, as you can see by the video, he writes, "Hello, my name is Harry," and the next moment, the book writes back. Now, this is specifically fascinating to me because as a child, I did write in a few journals, but nobody ever wrote back, unfortunately. If you told 10-year-old me that someday Tom Riddle's journal would have been a reality, I would have never believed you. But here we are today. Instead of calling it Tom Riddle's journal, though, we call it Generative Artificial Intelligence. Right, so where am I going with all of this? Construct Education and the New School worked on a project roughly a year ago today that used generative artificial intelligence, or Gen AI, to create specific courses on the use of AI in the creative fields. So if you're not familiar with the New School, let me take you through it a bit. The New School is a school in New York, an artistic tertiary institution, and they've existed since 1919. So they've been here for quite a long time. And we worked together with Joinky Lim, and he is the assistant professor of strategic design and management. Now, the New School focuses specifically on creative endeavors like dance, theater, visual arts, as well as creative writing. Now, this course was, I would say, just in time for the AI revolution, because many of you might remember that there were Hollywood strikes where the writers had a strike because of the introduction of AI into their environments. They were not happy with it, as one could imagine, because it would take over their jobs. And the New School thought it well to introduce 2 courses to address this specifically. Those 2 courses were AI Concepts and Applications for Creatives, as well as Harnessing AI in Creative Organizations. Right, so what did we do? We would not be authentic if we didn't practice what we preached. So we made use of generative AI to write this specific course. What are we going to discuss today? Let's have a quick look at that. On the agenda, we have the role of generative AI in creative education, interactive content development, and visual and literacy elements in AI. We had a 6-step process, which I'm going to take you through in a little bit more detail, but just to lay them out. Number 1, the course framework and learning outcomes. Step 2, the initial conceptualization and framework. Number 3, the AI-enhanced content development. Number 4, we had the adherence to the SME's writing style. 5, fact-checking and content validation. And 6 was the iterative revision and finalization. In the first step, Joinky Lim, our subject matter expert, was the essence of this step. He designed the course framework and the learning outcomes to make sure that we were ready to get working, and we had a framework that we could work off of. Next, we worked on step 2, which is where we added a little bit more, I guess, flesh to the bone. We worked on the subtopics, the topics, and the depths of the discussion forums. And we also, at this point in time, got the documents and the resources ready that we wanted to use within this course. So Joinky was our own Hermione Granger with his library of information, and he was just excellent in gathering all the correct information that we needed. Now that we had everything, we had all of our resources ready, we asked AI to work its magic. This was the first of its kind, as far as we know, at that time. And we made use of ChatGPT 3 and 4 at a later stage, as well as Bard, which is now called Gemini. But at that time, Bard was 3 months old, so very much still in its infancy there. So definitely very experimental at that point in time. I'm going to just take you through a quick prompt that we used. We asked the AI to review the provided media and readings of the SME and to identify topics and information and expand on the ideas. We asked it to develop additional content to elaborate on the main ideas. So that was our prompt. And from there on, we got a good lay of information based on what Joinky had provided us. But we felt like the writing was a little bit cold. It didn't have much of the poetic language that the subject matter expert wrote with, and we decided to make a few changes. We asked Joinky to provide us with some of his papers and his journals, and we then used that to train the AI to write more into Joinky's style. So I would like to show you an example. This is the subject matter expert's writing style. Creativity, a cornerstone of human intellect, has long been revered as the catalyst for problem solving and innovation. It is the art of connecting ideas, generating novel solutions, and envisioning what does not yet exist. Now, as you can see, he's got a very poetic, flowy kind of use of language, and that was what we wanted to capture. Now, as an example, we asked generative AI to please answer the following question. What is computational creativity? And this was the answer it gave us. It said, computational creativity uses algorithms and artificial intelligence to produce creative outputs. Yes, true, factual, but it was as dry as a bone. We then asked it to take Joinky's writing style into consideration, and this was what it came up with. At its core, conceptual creativity explores the potential of machines to not just replicate, but to originate and to innovate. Now, as you can see, the writing style definitely changed. It was a lot more poetic and a lot more suiting to the subject matter expert. We then went over to step 5, which was where we did a lot of fact-checking and validating. As we all know, AI is not perfect. It does make mistakes. It hallucinates. It makes things up. And that was where the human touch was very, very helpful. Once we went over the fact-checking, we went over to step 6, where we did a bunch of iterations and revisions to eventually come up with the final product. The collaboration between the teams and as well as the professionals from both groups were absolutely deeply important in this step, because it wouldn't have been possible to create such a great course at that time. But much like with any infomercial, there is more. We did not only use AI to create written content, we also made use of text-to-image creations with piece-to-camera videos. Now, in the videos, Joinky had a green screen behind him where he spoke about a bunch of concepts, and we made images based on what he spoke about. We used Firefly and Canvas text-to-image converter to create these images. Now, just as a sample, here's a prompt. Create an image that metaphorically weaves together diverse historical and cultural perspectives on AI into a complex tapestry, conveying the idea that AI's roots are extensive and interdisciplinary. Now, if you gave me that prompt and said, create something beautiful, I would not know what to do. But AI created something magnificent. And this is what it came up with. As you can see, it's amazing. It blew my mind. It was beautiful, and it was exactly what we needed for the course. Right, so in the end, AI is rapidly advancing. Many more people are gaining access to AI, and this is definitely going to enhance our industry, not only from business to business, but also business to AI. Now, in conclusion, I would like to say thank you to all of the amazing people at the New School and Construct, and to you, our marvelous audience. And even though I am much older and I'm still secretly waiting for my Hogwarts acceptance letter, I have to say that it's amazing to me that there's still some magic in our Muggle world. Thank you.
All right, up next is Hugo, Cassie Zamparini from OpenCraft.
And we need our speaker notes, so we're going to go behind here. Do
you have the clicker? Oh, where's the clicker? Click, click. Okay. Let's just see how this works. Okay. So hi everyone, I'm Cassie and this is Ali and we're both product managers at OpenCraft. And today we're going to talk to you about something a little controversial. Why LMSs suck. You heard me right, suck. In fact, just Google the word LMS and add the word sucks at the end and you'll find stuff like this. Or this. It's really strong sentiments. While the online complaints vary, many center around poor user experience. Bad UX erodes a user's confidence in a platform, reduces their productivity, and can cause endless frustration. Not only that, it can also create unnecessary distractions. Piled together, this can lead your users into a state of cognitive overload. And that's what we're focusing on today. How to combat cognitive overload by harnessing the power of good UX. But first, what does cognitive overload actually mean?
Cognitive load is the mental effort required to complete a task or process a piece of information. In 1956, George Miller wrote a paper called The Magical Number 7, Plus or Minus 2. He discovered that the number of objects an average person can hold in their working memory is around 7. This theory is now widely accepted as a way to gauge the brain's processing power. Of course, this number varies from person to person. But what's true for all of us is that when the information coming in is more than our brains can handle, our performance suffers. This is called cognitive overload. And while we might not always realize it, UX designers play a crucial role in preventing cognitive fatigue for users. Let's explore 6 golden UX rules designed to minimize distractions, help learners focus, and keep cognitive overload at bay.
All right, so golden rule number 1, use familiar UI patterns. One of the biggest culprits of cognitive overload is a confusing interface. So often it's because a layout doesn't follow accepted norms, and which forces learners how to figure out how to actually use a site. The king of usability, Jacob Nielsen, says, users spend most of their time on other sites. This means that users prefer your site to work the same way as other sites they already know. E-commerce sites follow this rule quite closely. After all, it affects their bottom line. The companies shown here are all from different industries, but all have the same pattern for their navigation. It's a prominent navigation with an account icon, a search bar, and a checkout icon. This familiar pattern takes the guesswork out of online shopping. The same rules apply to a learning platform. Don't reinvent the wheel. Rely on the familiar and stick to the UI patterns that your learners already know.
Golden rule number 2, design intuitive navigation. Designing clear, well-structured navigation is important. It tells users where they are, where they've been, and where they can go next. This helps to reduce their cognitive load, allowing learners to focus on the course content rather than worrying about how far they are in the course. An online storytelling publication called Longreads does navigation really well. They use a clean and clear sidebar to list the chapters of each story, and then they show readers their progress using a number of visual cues. Firstly, they display overall progress as a percentage at the top of the sidebar. And secondly, they use green check marks to show readers which chapters they've read and which they've yet to complete. They also display the current chapter at the top of the page above the content, there where it says chapter 3 of 11.
Okay, so golden rule number 3, limit distractions. A well-designed LMS isn't distracting. It doesn't draw attention to itself. In fact, it's almost invisible, letting learners dedicate their brain power to actually learning. One good example is Typing Club. It removes excess stimuli and distractions. They do this by using the screen real estate just for the elements relevant to the skill being learned, which in this case, it's typing. If the user wants to navigate away from the learning environment, they simply click the hamburger menu at the top of the screen and then navigate to another page. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Coursera. Their chaotic interface can really reduce me to a sweat. There are so many elements, no clear visual hierarchy, and learners are left wondering where to look first. This is a serious problem because any element that doesn't help your learner achieve their goal is actually working against them. These distractions can put unnecessary load on the learner's working memory, stealing their focus and making it more difficult for them to learn.
Golden rule number 4, use redundancy wisely. Although it often gets a bad rap, redundancy isn't always a bad thing. In fact, duplication in an interface can help to improve usability enormously. Take, for example, the 2 different ways to add Markdown in Notion. Users can either write native Markdown directly on the page or hit the / key and select a component from the list. By providing 2 ways to do the same thing, Notion allows users to choose what works best for them. On the other hand, when done incorrectly, redundancy can steal a user's precious brain power. In this example, the menu items appear twice, once in the sidebar and once in the main navigation. Is this duplication helpful, or is it a hindrance? I'd say the latter.
Okay, so golden rule number 5, use simple and concise language. One of the easiest ways to avoid cognitive overload is to use clear and concise language throughout the interface. Whether it's in page titles, notifications, or in microcopy, it's important to keep it as informative as possible, using as few words as possible. Microsoft gives us a good example of what not to do. Even though the text in the notification is clear and conversational, it's way too long, and your user is probably going to only read the first sentence and then click next without reading the rest. Another common mistake is the cold, robotic language of technical jargon. The developer who built this page probably knows what a dialogue is, but most people won't even have a clue what that is. Remember, you're not the user. Stick to language throughout the interface that the user will understand and that you will understand as well. The simplicity will help save learners time and mental energy.
The clicker? Golden rule number 6, use icons with caution. UX designers love icons. They're small, neat, and can add some pizzazz to an interface. To me, there's no better feeling than replacing a chunky piece of text with an icon. Unfortunately, it's not always that simple. Take, for example, the icons they put on washing machines. Does anybody know what they mean? I certainly don't. And clearly, neither does this person. The too many tennis balls one is by far my favorite. While some icons, like the hamburger menu, are more or less universally understood, others are left up to interpretation. Ambiguous icons can increase cognitive load by forcing users to spend extra time and effort deciphering their meaning. This brain power could be put to better use elsewhere. So, to enhance usability, always opt for intuitive icons, and if an icon's meaning isn't obvious, pair it with a label.
So, there we have it. In the world of UX design, knowing the ins and outs of cognitive overload is like a cheat sheet for creating better user experiences. By understanding our brain's quirks and embracing our limits, UX designers can help educators educate and learners learn. And while not officially part of our golden rules. Rewarding learners for their efforts and achievements is a great motivator. One way to get you all to embed this talk in your memories, in your long-term memories rather, is with a little reward. So here are a few South African chewy treats from 2 South African natives. Thank you, everyone.
All right, last but not least, Juan Camilo Montoya from EduNext.
Thank you very much. Excellent timekeeping. Right, so apologize in advance because I'm going to be speaking quite fast. I have a lot of ground to cover. So what I want to present today is a showcase of the newly added, or some of the newly added capabilities to OpenEdX by the Unidigital project. Can I get the... Yeah. So this, in case of, for those of you that don't know, the Unidigital project was a project that ran from mid-2023 up until about now, or a few weeks ago, by a consortium of 7 public Spanish universities, 2 of them who are here present at the conference. Notably, I want to call out Universidad Politécnica of Valencia and Universidad Autónoma de Madrid, both join us here. And I think what they've done is really commendable. They joined forces, they decided to put together some joint budget and actually come and invest in our platform, in our technology. And going through the sometimes painful process of trying to adhere to the community process of negotiating and contributing through the still forming process of communitarian, I don't know if that's the word, creation of a product. So that was really incredible that they did that, and I hope many other institutions do follow that path and try to get some lessons from what they did. So ultimately they invested, if I can use the word, 9,000 development hours into our technology, and I want to call out what they got out of that. So this is just a quick list, a lot of features that will be landing upstream that are included in Redwood. This talk doesn't particularly focus on that, but I encourage everybody to look into that as well, because a lot of features from this project enhanced and improved the Redwood version, including things like the studio homepage experience, the learner dashboard experience, improvements to the Teams functionality, and many more I can only list. But this, and also a lot of contributions to the takeoff and the initiation of the Aspects project as the analytics engine, data processing engine for OpenEdX. But this talk is specifically going to focus on third-party extensions, and especially extensions to the platform like XBlocks plugins that are freely available for everyone to use but didn't land in the master repository as of yet. So in terms of XBlocks, I'm going to be quickly mentioning 9 different XBlocks that are already available, all of them open source, of course, AGPL, ready for everyone to use right now, and all of them available in the current official OpenEdX sandbox. So I encourage everyone to go there and try and play with them for a while if you're interested, or to come talk to us as well. Really quickly, sorry, I need to run. First one is a Lime Survey integration system. So Lime Survey is a really nice open source as well surveying system. So you can now, using this XBlock, integrate it into OpenEdX, and it will also allow your course creator to configure how the experience of the survey taking goes, and then it will allow the administrator to see the results of the survey from the LMS dashboard. The Files Manager XBlock allows course creators to create a folder and a hierarchy of folders and subfolders where you can put files that are available for learners, but that's separate from the course asset files, so that it's easier for learners just to navigate those folders as they used to with their operating systems. And also, as a course creator, you can decide the date range in which each of those files can be available for learners. So maybe you can have some control on that. And also, the interface, the UI to look at those files is nice. It has a preview buttons and things like that. So it's really intuitive to use. Another XBlock is Mind Maps, gradable Mind Maps XBlock. So you can now add mind maps to your course really easily. And these mind maps are graphic representations of certain concepts, like in a tree structure. So you can just add them to explain a context or some concepts. You can have them be editable as well, so that learners can play around with those. And you can have those edits be gradable as well. So the course creator can, or the instructor can at the end, grade them in a similar fashion as you would grade a staff graded assignment piece. Images gallery, it's pretty neat XBlock that allows you to have a carousel of images displaying automatically for you. And then for each image, you can have a full screen view of the thing, which is nice. You can see here some of the examples. These videos are running really quickly, but hopefully you will get some of the ideas there. It's quite simple, but still very useful. There is content access restrictions. So there's a few of these XBlocks that are using the framework of parent-child XBlocks, if some of you may know about this. So we built this little box in which you can put all the content, videos, problems, whatnot, and then configure the outer layer, the box, for having some specific controls. In this case, you can control who can access the box or not, depending on different criteria. In this case, you can control it by IP range, if you want to control where people can access it from. You can control it by password, so you need a special password, like a passkey, to access this particular box and its content. And you can control by browser, so you can have, within the box, you can have an exam, and you can have the control layer configured so that you can only use this exam with the secure browser, secure exam browser. Another XBlocks allows you to have the same kind of box, and then you have control navigation. What does that mean? That whatever it's in the box, you can control how the students can consume it. Options are randomly, so you can have an exam as well that is randomized, or some contents that are randomized. You can have a control that it's forward only. They can only continue going forward, and they cannot go back to that content. And if I don't recall, there's a third option for control navigation, but that's the whole point. And you can mix and match those things. So you can have control navigation and also content restriction in the same box. The other one is extemporaneous grading. So they wanted to have, and this is, I should have mentioned this, this was gearing towards bringing some of the in-campus use cases that they have in their universities into the OpenX platform. So one of those is extemporaneous grading, having a deadline for a paper submission or some exam, and then have a second deadline for people to cross over the first deadline and be allowed some more time without having to go and extend it individually for each student. So the box has the two deadlines, so you can just present your thing before the first deadline, that's fine. But if you pass the first deadline, then you get a sign that says, do you agree that you're late for your submission? Yes, I agree. And then it allows you some more time, but it registers the information that you delivered late, your assignment. Completion grading, super simple. It allows you to, this is not a box anymore, it just allows you some configuration to grade, get a grade based on your completion levels in the course. So you can then use this grade, which is collected in the XBlock, to feed your normal grading structure. And discussion grading, similarly, you can grade the level of engagement that the learners got in those grades. For those last two, there are multiple ways to configure it, so I really encourage you to explore that in depth. There is full documentation for each of the components. That's for XBlocks, but we also had 6 plugins. I'm just going to mention this super quickly because I may have 1 minute left or something, but 6 plugins as well, all of them open source again. One of them super interested to extend Aura towards being integrated with Turnitin, the plagiarism tool that basically governs the plagiarism detection market. One on-task integration. This is one of the things that we're finalizing right now. That also will allow you to integrate with on-task, open source tool to deliver personalized feedback to each learning based on their activities. One plugin that allows you to issue digital credentials using the European model. For those that are into digital credentials, European Learning Model version 3. We generate those files out of a course certificate with this plugin. And then there's a plugin for notifications via email to get a notification in my inbox whenever somebody replied to my posts. And also for deploying Lime Survey. This connects to the first Lime Survey XBlock if I want to have my Lime Survey deployment within my tutor environment. And finally, there is Unidigital plugin that wraps it all. So if you maybe want to get the whole package, you can get this Unidigital plugin, and it will take care of putting all the XBlocks and plugins into your site. So hopefully the next steps would be explore these components to the best of your abilities. That would be really great, and provide us with feedback if possible. Install them in your instances. They should be compatible with Redboot, certainly, and most likely the previous 2 versions for these XBlocks that I mentioned. And yeah, engage in conversation, because your feedback will be very valuable to keep these components living and being iterated and improved over time. We've seen so many XBlocks and extensions that die, in lack of a better word. So we really want this to not be part of that and be something that is useful for everyone and keeps iterating and improving. Thank you. How do I do? Good.
1 minute under. All right, we've got 6 minutes for questions. anyone have any questions for anyone?
I have a question for Ali and Cassie. You showed the example of how all the other LMS sucked. How about OpenEdX? What's the part that sucks there?
No, that's not nice. Sure. Sure, Xavier? I thought you've got to be, I mean, oh my gosh, that's horrible.
Just out of fairness. No, but I'm guessing that's the point behind that there are things we can improve in OpenEdX, right?
That's the point, is that I think we're on the path that we are investing. I think when Ali and I started, we were a little bit like, what is this? To be honest. And then with Jenna coming on board and the community getting more involved, we are seeing a lot of changes being made. I know Sam and Marco are doing some incredible stuff on mobile, and I think we looked at it the other day and we were like, bring that into the, a desktop kind of version of the site. So I think we are on, I don't want to say what sucks, I just want to say that we are improving and we are getting closer and closer to more accepted norms in the UI and UX space. And we still got a ways to go, but I think we're definitely getting there. And I think Jenna, I got to say this, put us on that track with Axum and everyone in the community. We are definitely getting there. Okay. Okay.
Thank you. I just want to ask you, sorry, I didn't get your name, but the person, talking about, thank you, Frenette. So my question is, because we've been thinking a lot about this in the conference this time around, which is how to incorporate AI into our tools. From your experience, do you think we really need to do that? Do we really need to incorporate AI into the tools? Or is it enough with what you get right now, which is the tools are outside, like for course authoring, I mean? The courses are outside and instructors are fine with going outside to get the tools. We don't need to bother too much into incorporating them. I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I think, and this is my humble opinion, please don't take me up on this. I think we're going into a world where it's going to be inevitable that the majority of what we do is going to be AI incorporated or AI based, regardless of, industry. So I think not utilizing it or not bringing it into your LMS is delaying the inevitable. That's what I mean, if you have a look at most industries, medicine, it's everywhere and it's not going to go away. I think if we think it's going to go away, that's ignorant. I hope that answers your question.
I actually have an answer for a really good use of AI, graded discussions. The idea, because I don't know if any of you have ever taught an online class and grading discussions, it's like the worst part of the job, but if you don't assign a grade to it, they won't do it. But the larger your class gets, the more of that time suck is going to happen. But if the AI could look and go, yeah, they did a pretty good job, and here's going to flag why I think they did a good job, and you can say, yes, I agree, give them that grade. Literally, it would save countless hours for countless professors at freeware.
Also a question for Frenette. I wasn't quite clear on when you spoke about the AI having input. Did you already create the media and the readings and then put it into AI? And then my second question is, what is the load of QC doing it that way?
All right, first question. Yes, we had pre-written material in terms of things that were in PDFs and slides and handbooks and so on. So, I mean, that already existed in class notes and so on. So I wouldn't say necessarily having to recreate any content that wasn't existing. And then the second question was the QC on that. I mean, at that time, it's over a year ago. It doesn't feel like that long, but the QC process was long at that time because it was definitely so new. There was a lot of sweat and tears, but I think now, as it's advancing, I mean, I can see a massive difference between, the QC abilities of 3.5 and GPT 3.5 and 4.0. I think it's definitely getting better, but at that time it wasn't it wasn't great. But that's as deep as it gets.
You can keep it, Frenette.
I feel attacked.
The AI vultures are descending. It seems like you had a pretty good process between the SME and your team,
Yes.
even a year ago. And I'm wondering where that process originated from. Was it the SME's idea to incorporate AI so much? Was it Construct's idea to incorporate AI so much? Or was it a budget decision that we needed to... How did it originate?
It was, at that time, it was a creative exploration because, especially because of what happened at the time, there was this anxiety about AI is going to take over writing jobs or creative jobs in general. And I guess the spirit that we approached it with is, it doesn't, no. I mean, we can utilize it as a tool to help us to get the grunt work out of the way so that we can focus more on the things that actually matter. And, you know, things like we've been talking about, like engagement and connecting with your audience. Something, I mean, this is just me. Something like doing spell checks and QA checks makes me want to cry myself to sleep. So if I can get a tool that can take on that grunt work for me, that gives me a lot, as a designer, a lot more open time to work on things that actually matter in terms of getting the learning process to a point where it's so much more enjoyable for the learner.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think it's a very instructional design kind of perspective on it. I think that sometimes when I work with SMEs, there's more fear on it. So I'm hopeful that you can use that as a kind of a case study going forward with other SMEs and explain kind of where it worked and where it didn't. So very cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're at time. Thank you, everyone.